In this video, we're going to find the product of rational expressions. In order to do that, it helps a lot to go ahead and factor all the pieces of our rational expressions. Let's start with the top of the first fraction. In order to factor m squared minus 2m minus 63, we first need to figure out what two numbers multiply to negative 63 but add to negative 2. The two numbers that do that are negative 9 and positive 7. So we can factor this to be m minus 9 times m plus 7. Again, because negative 9 times 7 is negative 63, and negative 9 plus 7 gives us negative 2. Now let's factor the bottom of this fraction, 5m plus 35. So in this case, it's just a linear expression, so we can just pull out a greatest common factor. In this case, that's going to be a 5. When I divide 5m by 5, I get m, and when I take the 5 out of the 35, I get 7. So we factored both the top and the bottom of our first fraction. Let's take a look at our second fraction. 4m plus 28 is going to just be a greatest common factor that we can pull out, and that would be a 4. When we pull a 4 out of 4m, we just have the m left. And when we do 28 divided by 4, we're left with a 7. So we have 4 times m plus 7. Our last piece that we're looking at is going to be this negative m squared plus 5m plus 36. So this component, we first actually need to factor out the negative. So we're going to do that kind of over on the side here. So we're going to say, okay, let's pull out a negative 1. If we do that, we're left with m squared, and then it becomes minus 5m and minus 36. So this allows us to now factor what's left in the parentheses, just like we did with our top of our other fraction. It's a normal quadratic because that leading coefficient is a positive value. So now we're going to carry down the negative 1, and we want to find two numbers that multiply to negative 36 but add to negative 5. In this case, that's going to be a negative 9 and a positive 4. Because negative 9 plus 4 does equal negative 5, and negative 9 times 4 equals negative 36. So we can add that component right down here because it's factored form. Now let's go ahead and we're going to rewrite this all together to make this a little bit easier to see if anything cancels before we continue the problem. So we have m minus 9 times m plus 7. And also on the top, we have 4 and m plus 7. Then in the bottom of our fraction, we have 5m plus 7 times negative 1 times m minus 9 times m plus 4. So now that we have written this as a single fraction, we can see that there are a lot of things that actually do cancel. Remember, if it's on the top and the bottom of the fraction, we can cancel both out. So for example, m minus 9 cancels here and here. And m plus 7 could cancel here and here. Nothing else cancels in this case. So now we can go ahead and say, all right, this equals, on the top I have my 4 and my m plus 7 left. On the bottom, we see that we had 5 and negative 1. So we're going to multiply those together because they're just plain numbers. We have negative 5. And we still had an m plus 4. So this is very nearly our final answer. The only additional thing that we want to make sure we're considering is that negatives tend to be on the top or in front of fractions for final answers. So here we can write this as negative 4m plus 7 over 5 m plus 4. And there we have it. We have multiplied our two rational expressions.